In this video, I'm putting 6 player improvement irons up against each other. Let's see how they do. Okay, so for this video, I have the Taylormade Stealth, the Titleist T300, the Mizuno JPX 923 Hot Metal, the Ping G425, the Cobra LTDX, and the Callaway Apex DCB. For this head-to-head challenge, I am using the same shaft in every single one of these irons. I listened to all you subscribers who want my head-to-head comparisons to be as close to the same as possible, so I'm going to be using a Project X LZ 6.5 Flex, which is the same iron shaft I've used for probably the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm really doing this video for you guys that might be shopping for new irons. If you're gonna go to a fitting facility like this one at Modern Golf, you're gonna be able to hit every club available, and that's what I'm gonna be doing today. So far, what I find crazy about all of these irons is 4 out of the 6 irons that I have are different lofts, and they're all 6 irons. So already I have my guard up a little bit, because if both clubs are 6 irons, but one is 2 degrees stronger, that one should go further. If you did decide to order one of these sets of irons, a professional fitter could tweak the lofts and lies to make them specific for you. But for this video, everything is a standard loft from the manufacturer and standard lie. The first club that I'm gonna hit is the Taylormade Stealth, so let's get into it. Okay, I'm gonna be judging these irons on a few different categories. First, it's gonna be how it looks, how it feels, how it sounds, and then of course, the data that we get. The data we'll be collecting is off of a TrackMan. I'm using a Pro V1 RCT ball. Where we're filming in Calgary, Alberta is about 3,400 feet elevation, so take that into account when you see my total distances. So a game improvement iron is kind of for those mid to high handicappers. They're definitely a thicker, chunkier iron. They have a lot more weight behind it than say a traditional blade, and you're hoping to not give up a ton of yards if you do mishit it. So first up, we have the Taylormade Stealth. Overall, it looks very clean. It's actually a lot cleaner than I was expecting. If you've seen the new Stealth driver, it has those red and black accents, where this is really just silver and a little bit of carbon. This Stealth has just a little triangle in the toe, and it also has that speed slot at the bottom. That's been a new technology that's been in clubs for maybe the last 6 or 7 years. This is a 6 iron. This is coming in at 24 degrees. So out of all the clubs I'm gonna be hitting, this is definitely one of the stronger clubs. Let's hit it and we'll see how we get. Pretty large 6 iron. Whoops. Okay, first swing, that's a pretty large 6 iron. 227 carry, 243 total. I never hit my 6 iron anywhere close to that, but since it's strong at 24 degrees, that's pretty much the same loft as my 4 iron. So that's close to accurate numbers with my 4 iron, maybe even into my 3 iron. Typically my 6 iron goes like 200 yards. Keep in mind I'm at elevation, so at sea level it probably only goes about 180, 185. But that was a pretty smooth hit. That felt really good. Let's keep hitting it. There's a more realistic number playing a cut. So 212 carry, 225 total. That's still a lot further than my normal 6 iron would go. But again, that's strong loft. What I'm gonna do for this head-to-head for all of these drives, I'm gonna get about 10 good ones. At the end, I'm gonna delete my worst hit and delete my best hit so I can get a really good average baseline for all of these irons. So the way that this club looks at address looks a lot chunkier than what I'm used to. I right now play kind of a muscle back, almost a blade club. So for me to see a game improvement iron where it's almost twice as thick as what I'm used to is just different. I think it sets up very nice. The top line is satin, and I think I prefer that than maybe a shiny top, just so the sun's not gonna glare when I'm looking at my irons. And it sounds awesome. Out of all the hits I've had so far, it has felt effortless to swing through the ball. So far this Stealth is an awesome iron. I would say that it feels heavy, definitely heavier than my current 6 iron, which is just a baseline for me to reference. And I think that's what you want. You want some weight in the club head to really help get through the ball. I think this will definitely get through almost any condition that you're playing. Okay, that was my first miss hit. It was definitely a couple grooves low, and look at that. Still low spin, really low spin, 4,600, 214 carry, 230 total. Man, I might have to consider switching to a game improvement iron. So far with this club head, I've noticed very consistent spin. Years ago, I would think that the ideal spin for a 6-iron is around 6,000 RPM, but that's not necessarily the case with these Game Improvement irons. If I can get anywhere from the 4,000 to 5,000 window, I should still be able to get the ball to stop, which is good. If you're getting 20 yards of roll out of, say, a 6-iron, it could be tough to hold greens, but I think with this launch angle and the spin rate, I should be able to still hold greens. This is a hot start. We're setting the bar pretty high. Okay, if I came into a fitting session and that was the results I was getting, I don't think I would need to hit the other 6 clubs. But since I'm doing the test, I want to, so I can't believe that benchmark that the Stealth created. Okay, so in that session, I was averaging a 221 carry and a 236 total, which is disgusting for a 6-iron. I told you again, where I live with my elevation, my normal carry is about 195, 200, and at sea level, it's about 185. So already I'm gaining 20 yards of carry with that new Stealth, but it's lofted to my 4-iron. Another but, that was way easier to hit than my 4-iron. Because there's so much weight behind it, it's got a big club face and a huge sweet spot, I was super impressed with that. Okay, I gotta find my best and my worst. How am I gonna judge? Let's just take a look at some shot shapes, see some that I like and that I don't like. That last one that I hit was perfect, so this one is my best. I'm gonna delete that, a 244 total 6-iron, give me a break. And my worst, I think, was this guy here. 214, 230, 237, oh, 225, that's not a good one. Okay, we'll delete that. Okay, I got 8 that I'm happy with. These are gonna be all of my averages, and that's what I'm gonna compare to the next club. The next one that I have is the Titleist T300. So those Taylormade Stealths are coming in at $185 per iron Canadian. As we move on, we'll see how that price stacks up compared to its competitors. Okay, next up, we're looking at the Titleist T300. Going off of the looks, I think it's more visually appealing than the Stealth. Titleist has always been very sleek and traditional. So the iron head is about 90% glossy finish, and the top line is satin. So similar to the Stealth, it has a satin top line, and I love that because I hate when the sun hits it, reflects it, you can't see properly. This looks really good. I would say it looks almost more rounded than other heads that I'm used to. It has this weight in the back that has an M on it. I think that's just gonna help improve the sweet spot. Overall, it looks very good, looks very clean, very similar from what I'm used to. I used to play AP2s back in the day. That overall, this looks very clean. The loft on this 6-iron comes in at 26 degrees, so it's 2 degrees weaker than the Taylormade that we just hit, so we'll have to take that into account when we look at my numbers. Overall, looks really good. Let's see how it performs. First hit with it was definitely not my best hit, but I still got 200 yards, 213 total. So let's see how much better that can improve. That felt way better. Whew, that felt even better. 218, we're still getting up there. If any of you guys are new to the channel, my name is Brandon. I do a ton of club reviews just like this, so smash subscribe and join the community. There's a good one, really good one. High draw. Okay, so what I noticed so far between the Titleist versus the Stealth is I'm launching this higher because it is a weaker loft. And if you were concerned with holding greens, this will definitely do that because I can hit it higher, get the spin up a little bit. I think I'll have no trouble holding greens. And if you can hit greens from 210, 215, that's a pretty big club. Pretty consistent though, right? For a 6-iron, this dispersion is surpassing my expectations. Okay, that wraps up my session with the T300. Overall, it looks awesome, feels really good, and it sounds very good. What I did notice was I felt my mishits more on the Titleist, but there might be a lot of you that like that. The Taylormade felt the same from the toe to the heel to the center of the club face. The Titleist gave really good feedback, so that's up to you to determine if that's a good or bad thing. Okay guys, I'm going to still delete my worst and best. Okay, so we'll get rid of that 209. And then my best was probably this 221. I melted that. 234. Whew! Okay, I'll delete that. So I was averaging still 214 carry, which is still stronger than my current 6-iron, 226 total. If I go back to the Taylormade, it was 2 degrees lower launch. So because it is a weaker loft, it's gonna go higher and should spin a bit more. See, so the Taylormade had a spin rate of 4,400 and the Titleist was 4,800. So you can still hit this high, still land it soft, and it's still gonna go pretty far. So far this Titleist is definitely keeping up. Okay, we got a really good sample size, so I'm excited to hit the rest of these. So these Titleist T300s are coming in at $193 Canadian. Really quick guys, I just wanted to let you know that this video is sponsored by Dbrand. Now with even more skin variations to choose from, customizing the look of your phone is just one click away with Dbrand.com. Yeah, I'm good and I'm feeling alright. Okay guys, the next club that I have built is the Mizuno JPX 923 Hot Metal. Now I know if any of you guys that are watching play Mizuno, it's like a cult following. You guys are all Mizuno, 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 Mizuno. I know one of those guys and he always buys the newest set of Mizunos and he will just hit nothing but Mizunos. So this is for all you Mizuno fanboys. How does this thing look? I think visually, it actually might look the best. It has about 90% of that satin metal finish and only about 10% of that really shiny metal. I think this thing looks awesome. Looking down at a dress, again, the top line is satin, so don't gotta worry about those sun rays hitting your eyes. Looks really good. Holding it, it feels about the same weight as everything else that I've swung so far. Nothing feels drastic. At setup, it looks really good. So the loft of the JPX 923 comes in at 25 degrees. So it's right in between that Stealth and the Titleist. So we'll see what type of numbers we get. Oh, that was smooth. Hot start, baby. That did sound really good. That might have been the best sounding hit we've had yet. Whoops, there's my delete. Got excited. Okay, there's a good miss hit sample for you. I was hitting those first two so good, probably the best 2 swings I've put on, followed by one of my worst. So here's a good miss hit. Miss hit carry, 204, rolled out another 20 yards. So 224 miss hit with a 6-iron, that's gross forgiveness. I would say these sound the most so far like a forged iron. The other 2 sounded more of like a driver iron, but this really sounds like a forged iron. Man, I like this club. Oh, feels good.
I think it feels like a Mizuno.
Apparently. So the first ever iron review I did, there was a set of JPX that I just didn't love. And I'm pretty sure half the people watching sent me like anthrax in the mail. So like, that was the best club I ever hit. There it is. There it is. Wow. Nope. My miss has been to the right for sure with this one. There's another miss. You don't got to worry about the distance miss on these Mizunos, that's for sure. One more, make it a good one. Holy smokes. Okay, no one needs to hit a 6-iron 246 yards. That's stupid. Let's look at some data. Okay, let's delete the best and the worst. This was definitely one of my worst. And where's the best? That last one, 230, how are you? Holy smokes. Draws typically go further. I like to play a draw, so I'm gonna delete this guy. Oh no, this one's 232, this is even better. 248, yeah, we gotta delete this guy. Man, take that every time, hey? Okay, let's go through my averages. Averaging 223 carry, 237 total. How does that hold up against the other ones? So, Titleist that we just hit was a little higher loft, that was 26 degrees. 214, wow, 9-yard different average between the Titleist and the Mizuno. Keep in mind that Titleist is coming in higher and landing softer. The launch is lower on this guy, just under 15 degrees, but 237 total. Man, that's a far club. So let's compare the Mizuno to the Taylormade. Mizuno had 223 carry. Wow, averaging a further carry than the Taylormade. Wow, and it's 1 degree higher, softer.
Yeah, weaker.
It's 1 degree weaker. That was an interesting session. I was hitting high and far. Mizuno might be in the running. Let's look at the spin. Spin on the Mizuno, 44.36. Taylormade, 44.22, like almost identical. That Mizuno is hot. I might have to drink the Kool-Aid. How expensive is it? What's it come in at? This Mizuno JPX 923 hot metal comes in at $185.75, which is the exact same price as the Stealth. Interesting, interesting. Let's build something new. Okay guys, next club we're looking at is the Callaway Apex DCB. This looks overall pretty decent. Like there's nothing crazy that's wowing me. I've seen a ton of Callaway irons in the past and it looks similar, maybe just slightly upgraded. It has that satin going around about 99% of it. There is again, it's so funny how all these club manufacturers look a little bit the same. Like they all have very similar characteristics, right? It's not like one iron's green and one iron's blue and one iron's yellow. They're all a different type of metal, and that's obviously just because that's what they're built with. So looks pretty good. Weight-wise, it actually feels heavier. This feels the heaviest out of all of the heads that I've swung. Is that good or bad? Well, we're gonna find out. Oh! I think just the pure weight of it is already just throwing my timing off. There was a garbage hit. Terrible. Okay, I think we're obviously deleting that one. That felt better. So the loft on this is 26 degrees, which is the exact same as the Titleist. We should hopefully see similar results with it going higher, a little bit more spin and softer landings. There, that felt the best yet. 220 carry, 234 total. Again, a 6 iron, like, man, these go far. I think so far this has been maybe the highest spin. I think I had one earlier go over 5,000. That's at 4,900. So to me, this one sounds the hardest. It just doesn't have that same thwack as the other ones that I've hit, and it's definitely heavier. I don't know if the weight is throwing me off, but it sounds good-ish. Is that fair to say? For me personally, I'm still just battling this weight. It's definitely heavier than the other ones that I've hit, and I think my results are showing that. Okay, there's some good hits. Let's start deleting a couple. What I really like about this test is the shaft has been the same. So the shaft is consistent against all of these. For me, that Callaway session didn't feel the best compared to everything, but if I was doing a full fitting, the fitter could give me maybe a lighter shaft to make up for that head weight. So I think it could feel better, but based on the shaft that I'm using, it just didn't feel like my best session. So let's see what the numbers are saying. Let's find our best hit. Best hit, 219, 222. That one was a monster. I was feeling really good about that. So my best hit was carrying 222, 236 total. See ya, goodbye. Where's the weakest? Oh, this first one, 200 carry. That was me not getting used to the weight. Delete that bad boy. Okay, now we have a good sample size. Averaging, 211 carry, 223 total. What I really want to see is how that compared to the Titleist because the lofts were the same. Okay, 211 carry, what was the Titleist? 214 carry. What was the Callaway total? 228, Titleist, 226. Oh, that's interesting. That it looks like the Titleist was landing softer if my total distance was 226. Yeah. Callaway had a little bit more. Let's look at the launch. The Callaway was 15.8, Titleist 16.2. So Titleist was going higher, which makes sense why the total is more on the Callaway. Those were very close, very neck and neck. Now let's compare the Callaway to what I think is leading so far, which is the Mizuno. 213 carry versus 223 carry. Crazy. 228 total, 237. Keep in mind, they're 1 degree difference, but 1 degree for 10, 11, 12 yards. Well, that's pretty crazy. How much is this bad boy?
250.
These Callaway Apex DCBs come in at the highest price point out of all of these irons. These are 250 bucks Canadian. Okay guys, next club we're looking at is the Cobra LTDX. This iron probably looks the most different or unique from the back side. It still has that satin steel finish, but the back in the cavity has some carbon, some black accents, a little bit of orange. It looks very similar to their woods. So I would say that this one looks probably the most unique so far of the ones that we've hit. So the loft on this guy is 24 degrees, which is the same as the Taylormade. So this is tied for the strongest loft out of all the irons we're hitting. Let's give it a test and we'll see how it ranks. Another large 6 iron. So far the sound feels still a little muted. It's pretty solid. I don't think it's quite the sound of like the Mizuno, but I would put it on par with the Taylormade and the Titleist for sure. See you later. She gone. That'll happen every now and then with a 6-iron. All these hits that I've had so far feel really good. It's amazing that no one makes a bad club, really, especially the ones that we're testing. These are some of the best manufacturers that have been around forever. I'm not surprised that they all feel good and they all go far. So this Cobra is keeping up with everything that we've hit so far. This is stupid, man. Who needs to hit a 6-iron 230 yards? Look at that smash factor. No one's gonna watch this because they're gonna say, you don't hit it 240. You're right, I don't. It's these frickin' clubs. Okay, let's delete a couple of these shots. Overall, that session felt awesome. Like, I don't think, and I wasn't keeping track, but I know I had at least 2 hits with that Cobra iron with a smash factor of 1.5, which is like insane. Okay, best and the worst. Here we go. Some of these felt just redonkulous. 230 with a 247 total on the line. Give me a break. Disgusting. See you later. What was the worst? This guy, 218, 233, 219. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a breakfast ball. That's a mulligan right there. We'll get rid of that guy. Okay, here's our sample size, guys. We were averaging 218 carry with a 233 total. How does that compare to the Taylormade, the same loft? 218 carry, 221 carry. So still bigger carry out of the Stealth. 240 total with the 6-iron versus 236. Interesting. The Cobra is running a mile, 26 yards of roll. How high was I hitting it? 14 degrees versus 14.4. So the Taylormade was actually going higher. Let's compare it to the Mizuno because the Mizuno is still pretty hot, right? 224 carry versus 223, so it is slightly further than Mizuno. 240 total versus 237. So it's in the running for definitely the longest carry and the longest total distance, but again, it's 24 degrees, so it's the strongest tied with the Taylormade. This is gonna be really tough to rank all of them. Okay, so the height on the Cobra was 101 feet, where the Taylormade is 102, so almost identical. Mizuno 107. So the Mizuno I'm hitting the highest and the furthest. Man, that's amazing. Guys, I have one more club to hit, but first, how much do the Cobras come in at? The Cobras are the most economically priced, coming in at 165 bucks Canadian a head. So you can get pretty much the same results as the Taylormade for less. Interesting. One more club, let's go. Okay guys, the last club that we're taking a look at is the Ping G425. Looks wise, again, it's 100% satin. There's almost no, oh, there's a tiny bit of shiny metal. Ping has the most unique head. If you've seen Ping heads in the past, they just look different. Right near the hosel, they have that kind of patented Ping slash right through it. I don't even know what it's called. Looking from the back, they look kind of the biggest and bulkiest, but there's kind of some visual illusions going on. When I set it at address, it actually looks the thinnest. So I find that very unique for this Ping head, that when I look at it, it looks the most like a cavity back or even getting into a blade. Let's hit it. I'm really interested how this is going to perform. It is coming in with the weakest loft. This is 26.5. So in theory, it should go the shortest, but let's see what the data says. Keep in mind too, they do make a power spec. Power spec will make the loft 2 degrees stronger, so that will get it to 24 degrees, which will be comparable to the Taylormade Stealth and the Cobra LTDX. But all we have is their standard loft, so let's see how it performs. Weight-wise, it feels almost, I think it feels the lightest. Even though it has that evident toe weight, I think it feels the lightest. That felt like I had incredible lag. And I don't know why that would be. How was my smash? Oh, shitty smash factor. That's probably why.
You hit behind the ball.
I think I definitely hit it. I took a beaver pelt divot with that. So, okay, here's my miss-hit benchmark. 208 carry, 226 total. That was slicey, another bad miss-hit. So these sound very good so far off the face. Ping has just a very unique sound. It has I wonder if I'm sure that's how they got the name, Ping. It sounds kind of ping-y, almost a little tinny, but it doesn't sound bad. It's definitely not muted. It feels solid though. Like when I make good contact, that last swing felt really good. I'm noticing that these are probably some of the most playable irons if you typically hit a high ball. With it being the weakest loft, to get these about 120 feet in the air, they should land pretty soft. I have some love-hate going on with these right now because I love when I make good contact with them and I hate when I make poor contact with them. That's all of us, right? We're gonna have mishits. It's inevitable. It's just seeing which are the most forgiving on those mishits. And I do notice some drastic difference so far, but I'll have to look at the numbers at the end. I would say that these clubs are kind of right in between a game improvement iron and more of a traditional muscleback or a player's club. For guys that are probably just losing some yardage, that need a bit more weight behind the ball, but don't want to look at something chunky, I would say that this is kind of a hybrid, like right in between game improvement and player. Which you think I should be able to hit these better. Yeah, when I connect like that, they feel amazing. Okay, that's a pretty good session. Let's delete a couple. Okay, let's find the best. Which was the best here? Right around here, 213, 223, 223. Either one of those. How about the one closest to the line? Then where's my worst hit? Probably this 197. 197 flare. Let's get rid of that guy. Okay, here's a good sample size. Spin rate was probably the highest out of everything that I hit. That's the first thing that jumps out to me. So again, spin for me is going to affect my distance, right? So let's look at the carry. So the Ping was 26.5 degree loft. The Callaway and the Mizuno were both 26. So let's see how that compares directly to those two. We'll start Callaway. So 207 carry with the Ping versus 213 with the Callaway. 219 total with the Ping, 228. So one thing to note too, these Pings are going the highest out of everything, right? That's averaging 112 feet, the Callaway 104, and the Mizuno 107. So it makes sense that these are going the shortest, and this kind of comes down to what you want out of your club. Are you someone that struggles to hit it high and you want it higher, or the opposite, do you hit it pretty high, you want something lower to kind of pierce through the wind? I have to rank these based on my game, which is fair, right? So based on everything that I've seen, this is gonna be pretty tough. I would say that this is probably the hardest review that I've done as far as having to rank clubs, because I know I could play every single one of these clubs that we hit. Okay guys, what I have to do is I have to take into some serious considerations how I'm going to rank these. Let me take a look at a little bit more of my data, and I'm gonna rank these from 6 to 1. Okay guys, the last thing I'm gonna show you is the dispersion for all of them, okay? So right up here is 210, and this is with the Ping. So my worst one was just under 200, with the best being at 210. Not awful, everything's in play, right? That is all fairway. If I go Cobra, the distance is much more consistent. So you see the gap in the Ping from my worst to my best, where if I go Cobra, they're almost all going the exact same, 220. That's pretty tight, okay? Let's look at Callaway. Callaway's pretty tight also. Very similar to the Cobra and tighter than the Ping, okay? Mizuno. Mizuno, I had some get away from me. So this is the first time I've seen some in the sand trap. That's interesting, okay? But still in around that 220 distance. Wow, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Titleist. That's some tight dispersion. That's probably the tightest. Well, I still have a couple outside the fairway. Cobra, everything's in the grid. Wow. Titleist, very tight dispersion. Very tight. And let's look at Taylormade. Taylormade, again, is still pretty comparable. Wow. How am I gonna pick? How am I gonna pick? Callaway. I might have to hit that Callaway again. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that to be that tight. Based on the dispersion, I had my tightest session with the Cobra. Yeah. This, I think we know where I'm ranking that, okay? Guys, this is very tough, so don't mail me any anthrax once I reveal how these 6 rank. I'm gonna start with number 6 based on the playability, the numbers, the dispersion. I'm gonna take that all into account. I'm going to put in the 6th place, the Ping G425. Based on my dispersion is really why I wanna put that into the 6th spot. And based on my miss hits and my best hits, it had the biggest variance. So I'm putting the Ping G425 in the 6th spot. Okay, coming in at the 5 spot might surprise a lot of you based on the dispersion that I had. However, from the way that it felt and the way that it looked, I just couldn't convince myself that that's a club that I would put in my bag, and that is the Callaway Apex DCB. Overall, the session felt pretty good, but the weight really threw me off, especially starting out after swinging the other clubs. The weight was just something that I couldn't get used to, and it's not a club that was very visually appealing to me. For me, whatever reason, visuals are a huge part of a club I want to play. It had good numbers, but I think I had some clubs that had even better numbers. So in the 5 spot, I got to put the Callaway. Okay, coming in at the 4 spot, this is where it gets even tougher. In the 4 spot, what put this there, I think, is the forgiveness up and down the face, to me, just didn't feel the best of its competitors, and that's gonna be the Titleist T300. The ones that I hit pure felt amazing. Because we're looking at Game Improvemet irons, I want to picture the person that maybe doesn't hit the center of the square face every time, and they have those mishits. This one just didn't stack up to the guys that are gonna rank higher. So in my 4 spot is the Titleist T300. Okay guys, now we're into the top 3. This is where it gets even tougher because all 3 of these felt amazing, and I would bag all 3 of these without question. From this, I'm getting even pickier. I'm picking just based on sound and feel. I think that coming in my 3 spot is going to be the Cobra LTDX. The Cobra, I was getting fantastic dispersion, fantastic distance. Based on my playability, it just didn't have everything that I needed. I would be concerned that I'm hitting these too low through the wind, that I'm not gonna hold anything on the greens. That was my biggest concern with the Cobra, so that's why I'm putting it in the 3 spot, but still overall a fantastic Players Improvement Club. Not to mention the price point, that it is the most economically priced out of all of these. I could easily put it in the 2 or 1 spot, but for this one, based on my session, it's coming in at number 3. Okay, we are between the Mizuno JPX Hot Metal and the Taylormade Stealth. When I started my session with the Stealth, it was such a high bar that it felt so good. Up and down the face, it felt incredible. Keep in mind, that was probably the coldest of my session because I hit 6 clubs after that. It felt amazing. The Mizuno also felt amazing. It had the playability characteristics that I wanted. So if I had to choose between the 2 of these, in the 2 spot is the Taylormade Stealth. You can't go wrong with this club. Keep in mind, it felt so good up and down the face. If I had to say percentage-wise of which one is winning, if the number 1 spot is 100, this is like 98%. This was so close. I would bag this without question. If you want a forgiving club that goes far, 100%, the Stealth felt awesome. That means winning this challenge is the Mizuno JPX 923. I guess I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and I'm gonna have to join the Mizuno cult because that felt so good. Why it felt so good to me is because I'm used to forged irons. So it was really the only club that I hit that had the forgiveness of a Game Improvement club and also had the performance and playability of a forged club. I would say that this is all around an amazing club, and you don't have to be a high handicapper, a weekend warrior, someone that needs forgiveness to play this iron. I would be so comfortable bagging that, playing around with it. I know I can hit it far, I can hit it high and land it soft. It was overall the biggest surprise that I had in this bracket, and that's why I do these challenges. If you guys had fun watching this, make sure you smash subscribe so you can see more of these types of videos. That was crazy. I can't believe Mizuno won. So cool. Thanks for watching this video, guys. We'll check in with you next time.